Oh, fiddle dee dee. Hey guys, sorry about that. Okay, so I just played heck trying to figure out how to get this to work this time. And I'm a mess because I got a little flustered. Sorry. Okay, let me see. I don't have the best setup here, but I'm trying to make things work and I'm still learning how to do that. So I hope you guys can be patient. And I'm going to turn the chat on and make sure that is working. Okay. So I don't really expect people to watch this. It looks like I have my usual hall monitor. I don't expect a lot of people to watch this live. I used to have a nice little audience and fellowship, but to get rid of some hangers-on, some nasty trolls, I had to do what I had to do. So I deleted everything. And now we're kind of starting fresh, which is a good thing because number one, I'd like to reach some different people. And I don't always need my glasses, so let me pop those up real quick and make sure everything's working. Live chat. It's working. I don't know what that is for, so I'm not going to touch it. Okay. So I've had requests from, I think it's Denise, who wanted to talk more about consent. And we've done a lot of talks about this. Wow, I look so weird. I can never get the right view on these things. Is that better? Do I not look as far away? I don't know. Okay. Okay. So Denise asked that we talk more about consent because I had gotten into that on the main channel before, and it seemed to really help people. So you're going to hear a little bit of my testimony, not to bore anyone or make me center of attention or anything like that, but merely to try and when you're trying to explain something or teach something to somebody, the best way you can do that is to give them something they can relate to. And human interest is very relatable, right? So if I tell you I'm a mother and I'm a wife and I've went through this stuff, it makes it easier for some of you to relate to me. Some of this is going to be specifically towards the women towards the end because I have a few things and warnings for females that I think are important in these times. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you, as it were. I'm a mess. I took Sammy down for his out for his morning walk. Well, early afternoon because it's chillier now. And we went down into the trails where I showed you guys before, and we got like wind blown and all this other stuff. So we're kind of a mess. He's sleeping on the bed right there now. So just bear with me. I'm not a professional actress. I'm not even a professional YouTuber. I don't do the studio type thing. I don't do all that. I used to kind of like I started being an influencer and I realized like I was wasting my time. I was really just wasting my time constantly doing my hair and makeup and all this stuff when I could have been like drawing and honing my skills and learning new skills. But you know, we each have lessons to learn here. And I'm hoping that my cautionary tale will help other people, women especially, because I am one. I can't really speak on being a man because I'm not one. But especially some women who maybe need some encouragement, but also maybe need to open their eyes as to what's happening in front of them. We're having a lot of deception, and a lot of it is geared towards the family and the divine feminine that I do believe that we all have within us, even men. I don't want to get into specifics here, and I don't want to get too weird, but too woo-woo. When I say weird, that's what I mean, like too far out. But it's important to note that I listened to a Jewish rabbi about a year and a half ago now, and he was explaining the beginning of the Torah, like how they believe the world came into being. And it's much like cell division. If you know anything about science and engineering, you know, cells divide, right? And they can create a whole nother cell when they do that. And both cells are in existence. That's kind of how they explain the beginning of the universe. And it used to be that Yahweh was a feminine. There was a feminine connotation in there. And, you know, people say God had a consort or God had a wife. We'll get into that more later. I personally don't think it's a good idea to label God one gender or one person, one being. I think that split off in the beginning, much like the Jewish rabbi was teaching. And I do believe there was a male and a female, because we are male and female and we are made in God's image. And I do believe that God has a family, like the divine feminine, and Christ as the template of the son, because we're all daughters and sons of God. Which he was trying to tell people, but most people, they got confused and didn't understand that. I need to take those off so I can read. Sammy, your partner in crime. Yes, he is. Although we don't commit crimes. None that we are going to admit to here. Kidding. We don't commit crimes. But he's my love. He's like 75 pounds of like solid muscle, and he takes me down all the time. But I wouldn't have it any other way at this point, because he is my joy. Christ is my joy, the good news of the gospel, the true good news. But Sam's my joy now. Says nobody's watching, but I'm going to keep pushing forward into this. Okay, so consent. I put up the definition, which I already did for the word of the week. If you are interested, it's up. Now we have consent as permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. No change may be made without the consent of all partners. That's their example. It is when it's a verb, and again, I went over this a little bit, but we'll go over it real quick. When it's a verb, this person is giving consent. They are agreeing. They are in agreement to do a thing, okay? When consent is a noun, it's more of a thing that you're describing, right? I offer my consent. He had consented to oh no, that's still a verb. Are you going to show me the noun? Hold, please. This is like research with me, so we kind of go through all this stuff together. Permission granted in the knowledge of the possible consequences. That's important. Okay, and if you want to see it, just Google her. It's probably backwards for you guys, but you get the picture and you can look it up. I promise you I'm not that sweaty or oily. I actually did apply a little makeup for this video. My lighting's just horrible. It's like so bad. I don't have an overhead light. It's probably so they can put their little cameras up there, but I have one over there. People are like, man, you're paranoid. Trust me, when you've been through everything I've been through, it's not paranoia when people are actually doing these things to like gaslight you, make you question your own reality. And, I'm about to grab my teddy bear just because I get a little sentimental and emotional and spiritually driven when I talk about these things. So I'll try not to get lost in my head. So informed consent. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look up types of consent. Okay. Now, I don't agree with all these. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. I do not recognize all of these as actual consensual agreements. I don't recognize all of the world's or Google's or Webster's definitions of consent. For example, I don't personally believe in passive consent. You cannot truly give your consent, give your agreement to a thing unless you know everything that's involved. So these people who show you like what's happening in your life without just telling you the truth, the whole truth, not saying a story or it happened to somebody else. No, actually saying, okay, this is what's happening behind your back. This is what's going on. Because I'll talk about that again when we get to the fallen aspect of this. So please hang in there with me. So right off the bat, I do not agree with their types of consent. I just don't. Hold, please. It's my nectar of the gods. And yes, I speak that way. I think we're under a hierarchy. I don't think there's anything wrong with the words like pantheon. Because I think that's kind of how things are. Just because we don't know everything or just because we don't agree with it doesn't mean that it's not happening. Just because we don't see it. I've never seen China, but allegedly it's there. So, which actually, honestly, I have doubts about our maps and all of that stuff at this point. Orange juice. Nothing in it. I just like my juice. It gives me energy. Like people say coffee does for them. That's what orange juice does for me. Okay, now I'm hot. And we were cold. We were outside. And I was like freezing as we came in. I was trying to, warm up. And now I'm kind of hot. So I'm good. Okay, so their types of consent are, and this is ridiculous that there are so many, and this is as of March 2021. You have informed consent, which is the only one I recognize. That's when you are informed of what is going to take place, and you can either agree or disagree. You can either say yes or no, right? You have that ability. So many people, especially us women, because of how we're raised, and because the world wants to oppress us. And I mean, I'm not a feminist. Like, I'm not saying that to, I don't know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not saying that to like degrade men or down men or anything. I'm saying that women, the way we're raised, the way we're taught, as far as being mothers and being friends and being wives, we are often under the impression that we cannot say no. Watch my last video on consent, and I explained that a little bit in my own life, but I no was like my first word, and it was pretty much punished out of me. Like, I was not allowed to say no. And it got to such a point that honestly, I'm an adult, and I just now, the last couple of years, learned how to say no. Like I recognize that, okay, this is something I can do. I can say no to these things. I don't have to be in agreement with them. This view is so funky. I feel like I look so weird. And the second type, so for me, the only one I recognize as actual a type of consent is the informed consent. That's the only one that I agree with, that I recognize. Then you have implied consent, which here you get into the wishy-washy. Implied consent meaning, let me think of a way to describe this. Well, I implied it was going to happen. Like I didn't come out and say your toes would turn black from trying this new cream, right? But I did imply that something negative could happen, right? So that would kind of be implied consent. Or implied consent on the other side would be like me saying nothing, right? It also is passive consent. See, to have a few here, and a lot of them can be kind of combined into just like two or three, much like the commandments in the Bible. And we have explicit consent, which is where you explicitly say yes or no, and you know exactly what's about to happen or not happen. Passive consent is when you are just quiet. Um, this is the one that is the most dangerous in our current times that we are living in, is passive consent. When you sit by and you watch other things happen to other people, you know they're being harmed, and you do nothing to lessen their hardship, right? I have people in my situation. I know they know what's going on. I know that they're keeping secrets from me. I know that they're trying to manipulate the way that I think and see the world, through this like augmented reality, through severe gaslighting. Um, and I know who these people are, right? And it's unfortunate because I love people, and it's sad that it's come to this. So then that's the most dangerous one, right? That is what I was talking about earlier, that quote, like, when you stand by and watch evil happen and do nothing, that is passive. Opting out consent. Okay, that's kind of what I'm doing with the world right now and the script that's running. Um, unless the Most High God has a job for me, which he asked me to witness, she, that's what I'm doing. Other than that, I've pretty much opted out of the game. I've poked holes, and there's a lot of layers here, and we're going to talk about that in another video. But I've kind of opted out of everything that's going on because I've tried telling people, I've tried informing people of what's happening about reestablishing their free will, and people don't want to learn that. They're not listening to that, right? And key takeaway, which again, I don't understand that or what it means, but let's go to Wikipedia real quick, because you have a few different sites here who are, again, if you have two people, you're going to have two different perspectives, two different ways of seeing things, two different guidelines and sets of rules for their life, possibly. That's just how it goes. I'm going to ask you to hold a second. There's no one watching the live whilst there used to be a way to pause it, but I don't know where that went. Okay, I'm going to turn this light out because it's glaring. Okay, sorry. That's actually my closet light. And ooh, there goes my blankie I was sitting on. I'm super short, so I need all the help I can get when I'm doing certain things. That's actually my closet, and so the light was like, glaring on me. I opened that window. I hope it's helping a little bit. So consent occurs when one person voluntarily agrees to the proposal or desires of another. Now, this is the problem, and this is what I want to talk about a little bit. Okay, first of all, should we talk about the agenda? Okay, the main agenda, one of the main agendas, and again, we're thinking of a wheel or an umbrella. There's a lot of different spokes to this wheel. There are a lot of different things that are being micromanaged right now and happening, in this time. And it's unfortunate, that it's that way. So one of the things that they're wanting to do is to totally abolish the age of consent. They want that gone. Now, I'm of two minds with this. In biblical times and in colonial times, females were married off at like 13, 14, 15, whenever they became, women, according to the moon cycles, according to their cycles. I'm trying to be delicate here with the conversation. And I would sit like a lady, but I'm actually crammed in between like my hope chest and my desk, so it's a little awkward. Again, I'm not an actress of any kind at this point. Sometimes I am when I need to be, but not in like. I hope that's good enough. I hope. Okay. So they're trying to abolish the age of consent. Now, it is said in the Bible that no man knows the day nor the hour when certain things will take place. However, we're supposed to know the season, and a lot of alleged Bible believers do not know what season we are in. I will often go watch rabbis and Muslims, for their perspectives, because I believe we need all of the books to know the fuller story. I'm not saying all the books are correct. I'm not even saying the Bible is completely correct in how we should behave. It is telling us the history of humanity, so maybe we don't make those same mistakes over again. And it's chronological I believe Revelation is different, but it's chronological in the way that we are supposed to see the evolution of mankind. And I'm not talking about like growing fins or physical evolution. I'm talking about a spiritual and a mental, evolution through their walks. Okay. Okay. So a part of my testimony is that, and this is where it gets weird. And I was going to do 2 different videos today. In my testimony video, part 2 or 3, part 2. But I decided that I would do it with this video because it all kind of ties together. So we'll talk about that real quick. And I'll get you'll see my body language, things get weird. I'm going to tell you what was said to me and how I saw things, okay? And how I perceived them to be. Now, you already know I had 2 strange dreams that I don't believe were dreams at this point. I believe they were encounters. I believe somebody wanted me to believe they were aliens or some such thing. I don't believe that's necessarily true. I think it was just people. As much as I would love to blame certain things on demons and whatnot, mankind does a fine job, him and herself, of being demonic. And by that, I don't mean, I mean by being demonic as in anti-God, anti-good, anti-love, anti-human. God created humans, and anyone that says, it's evil to be a humanitarian is foolish, because my definition of humanitarian is someone who loves people, and I love people. God created people, right? And we are made in his image, and we are supposed to be his daughters and sons. And so, some of the rhetoric that gets put out there, you really have to use your logic and reason to reason these things through and to punch holes in deceptions. I punch holes in things all day long because things are thrown at me and people say things and people do things. And I have really limited my exposure to people. I just have at this point. So I guess it's convenient that people rejected me because at this point I am not wanting to be around large crowds of people. I can be empathetic. I can be an empath, and so I have to be very careful about what goes in my ears and eyes and heart. So what happened is I already told you about the 2 dreams. So when I came back from Florida, everything was weird. It's like I was in bizarro world, things were different. And I know why I think that is. Um, there's a certain woman that moved up here from Florida, and I believe that, you know, my spouse is just done with me at this point. But I need you to understand why. Because again, this affects all of us. The things that happened to me happened earlier than they happened to the wider world, but they are coming to every state, and it's like they're taking turns. I saw a comment in a live chat about Florida, and it said Florida already had its calling. They know what they're doing. They're doing it purposely, and these are the people they want to get rid of. People who aren't working, people like me who are on disability, people who voted a way that they did not want them to vote. I'm not saying which way that is at this point. Um, People who are Christians and who believe in, who are of a certain age and believe in persecution of the saints, which again, I'll get into what that has to do with consent in a minute. This is going to come to all of you, and I'm trying to help you. And I know you think, well, who is this girl? She is nobody. I'm going to tell you again, the elites aren't who you think they are. They are not the pictures that they show us on television. And I'll say this again. If you were someone like that, and if you had an anti-human agenda, and if you wanted to commit genocide, would you show your face to the public? No, you wouldn't, because you know that the public eventually would come and want to hang you, basically, for your crimes against humanity. So these people don't show their faces, I believe. And again, I'm not going to use names here. I'm not a rat, even though it's been implied that I am. I'm not a narc. I don't care who does what drug. It's your body. Put into it what you think you need to get by or whatever. Just don't steal what belongs to other people, and don't hurt other people. But I will say, I believe that I know some of these alleged elites. Things were asked of me, I was questioned, things were told to me. Now looking back, I can see it. At that time, I did not see it. But I was questioned about all these things before any of this ever happened. This was something that these people planned, okay? We are facing severe augmented reality through gaslighting and manipulation of our senses, and that's a fact. And yes, I believe in the supernatural. Yes, I believe in the power of the mind. But I always go to logic, reason, and science first. If it's nothing I can see, feel, touch, smell, or hear, and if it's something I cannot repeat, like I can't test through a hypothesis, then I go to the spiritual. And I'm telling you, all this was planned. So it's key that you understand how important your voice is at this time. You need to say loud and proud, because trust me, they're listening. You need to state, I do not consent. I made this live stream. Oh, hey, you did. It's nice to see you. So again, I know people aren't going to believe me and be like, well, who's this girl? She doesn't have any subs. She's, not an actress. What do I care? What she has to say. And again, I'm telling you, this is coming to every family. It is coming to every state if it's not already there. And our internet, it's very easy to loop an internet and create an intranet like you have at a company. When I was at the bank, we had an intranet. It was just for the bank, right? Just for employees. When I worked for a cell phone company, we had an intranet. It was just for the employees of that company. It would be very easy to cordon off a city. I showed you a city planning video, and all cities are planned the same across the United States. That's why all the places look so similar. They're all planned out and mapped out the same. Okay. So that when things like this come along, when their plans come to fruition, they're easier to carry out. Okay. So again, I'm not saying that the supernatural does not exist. I'm saying go through every other option first. Don't give them a reason to call you or label you as crazy or mentally defunct, or however they're saying it these days. I honestly don't know. Hold, please. I love orange juice. You'll see you won't see now because I deleted them, but all my old videos, that's all I was ever drinking in the mornings was orange juice. So Again, you don't have to believe me, but for the one or two people that might listen to me throughout the channel's lifespan and throughout me doing this, then it's one or two people that I helped. And I have a penance to pay. I have things to make up for, and I'm not doing it just for this. Trust me. There's a multitude of reasons of why I do this. So you don't have to believe me, but I will tell you at this point, and I don't really care what my enemies say or think. Shame on them. I pray every day that shame falls on them because it will bring them to repentance. Um, I pray daily that they feel the burn and sting of shame because, when you do something when you're a child and you know it's wrong, you get that flushed feeling and your cheeks turn all red and you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do or say that? That's your conscience, right? And that's what I mean by the sting of shame. I pray that it falls on them every day because of what they took away the last bit of innocence that I had. And that's valuable. That's to be cherished. We all have a right to explore this sandbox that God gave us. It's beautiful. It is real. You can call it a sim all you want, but you can see it, taste it, touch it. For us, it is real now. And we are supposed to explore it. We are supposed to enjoy it. We are supposed to learn. We are supposed to allow ourselves to be refined to the point where we are no longer diamonds in the rough, but we are diamonds. And then we are at a higher frequency and able to enter the paradise that was created for humanity, which I believe is Eden. Bible never says you're going to go to heaven. So, it never says that. um, God came down and talked to them every night in Eden. So why is consent important? So when I came back from Florida and this man entered our life, and he was a tattoo artist, and he was allegedly teaching my husband the art of tattooing. A lot of weird things happening. This is when they started flashing hand signs. This is when my husband got the freaking eye tattoo. I know. And the Illuminati, let me just tell you right now, it's not what you think. You think all those channels would be as big as they are if they were doing something the system disliked? Those people are getting paid to push out misinformation. You have to, I hope people see that by now. The bigger the channel, the more compromised that person is, the more compromised their integrity is. The bigger the celebrity, the more money they're making. Money is not of God. Yes, it's a tool here we can use, and that's fine, but it is not of God, right? Anyone who is making bank here in this place is doing it because they are a misinformation agent. I don't care if it's YouTube, the internet, podcasting, television, stream, whatever they're doing, whatever it is. And so if you go to these bigger channels who talk about the Illuminati and stuff, just understand you're being misinformed. Purposely, you're being misinformed. Okay? That's one. Now, I'm not saying there isn't something to it. I'm saying you're being misinformed and you're being indoctrinated to accept their ways. The more you watch that stuff, the more used to it you are, the less it bothers you. That's it in a nutshell. That is desensitization. And you could say, no, but I'm learning this. I'm knowing what to look out for. Yeah, to a point, but I know because I've watched them. I'm speaking from a place of wisdom because I've been there and done that, right? And that's what wisdom means, is somebody who's been there and done that. Sorry, now I'm getting like hot. And all I have on is like my walking gear with Sammy. So when this man came around and they started doing these crazy hand signs and all that started happening, I also started hearing things that they were saying to each other. And again, it's up to you to decide if they were gaslighting me or if they were being serious, if they knew I was listening and said certain things on purpose, or if I caught them in the act. That's up to you to decide. In the end, it doesn't really matter if it's man deceiving us or if it's the fallen ones, or if some of us are fallen, or if we're all the fallen ones. Your reaction or response to such behaviors should always be the same. Number one, walk away. If you don't know what they're doing, you don't understand the hand signs, they're never going to tell you. Number one. Number two, it's subliminal. It works in your subconscious. So if people start behaving weirdly or saying strange things, just say, I don't know what you mean, and walk away. Be done with that conversation. And don't interact with that person again until they're done with whatever it is they were trying to do. That's how I handled it at first until I learned more. I started hearing them discussing terminology that I was familiar with about witchcraft because my mother had introduced me to the occult at a young age with Ouija boards and things like that. It was more the mystic stuff. And again, I'm more a mystic Christ follower than anything. I take what I can of each religion that feels true and honest. And if it feels right, then it's something that I adopt. Because I believe we need to start over. And you'll hear teachers online all day tell you, you can't make your own religion. You can't interpret it your own way. Well, I am, because we are so lost at this point. It's my opinion that we kind of need to start over. So it got to the point where this man, they had like this 3-day session of doing tattoos, and there were some substances involved, and my third eye was wide open at this point. So this is when things started getting very strange. The man left, and he wanted to come back. He had forgotten something, and I was like, okay. And I was expecting him, and people always entered through the back sliding glass doors. It was just easier that way, I guess. I don't know. It was weird. Enter through the back door, right? Sneak right in. Talk about ironic. Anyway, he came to the house right after that night. Now, mind you, I was under the influence of something, and this is really, again, why I think that if you want to talk reparations or anything like that, these people owe me. Their karmatic debt is to me and my children for what they did. And the woman on the other end of this, they owe me and my children, because it's entirely unnecessary. If you don't like somebody, just get a divorce. Like, why go through all this? And again, I believe I have an idea of why. But it's up to you to decide, am I really dealing with a fallen, or is it just men? So this man comes to the door, and he says, can I come in? And I had the door open. I said, why are you asking? We just spoke on the phone. You don't usually ask if you come in. And this is, again, where it gets weird. He said, I'm a fallen angel. And he gave me his name. And I looked at him, and mind you, I'd been in healthcare before, and I was trained that when people are on a substance, or, their mind fails them and they go off into the past reminiscing, that you are supposed to disassociate with them, right? You're supposed to agree with them. So when this man told me he was a fallen angel, I was like, okay. And people can be dangerous when they're on substances and they're intoxicated or inebriated. So I was kind of like, and I didn't know anything about consent at that time, mind you. I didn't know about letting things in, okay? And this is why I strongly advise you, do not ever agree to let anything over the threshold of your home. Do not allow to let anything in unless you know exactly what you're letting in and what you're agreeing to, okay? I don't want this to be super long, but I do. Okay, we're good. I do want to get to the point of how you free yourself, okay? But it's important that I show you how I came to know these things. So this man told me he was a fallen angel. He gave me his name. Unfortunately, that name that he gave me, I can't seem to get back. It's between two different demons, and I can't figure out which one it is exactly. And I think I have to have that name. And I'll get into that in a different video when we get deeper into consent. And then when he passed the threshold, I said, okay, you can come in. When he passed the threshold, my mind goes blank. That is the third time in my life that I've lost time. And it was always around the same people or the same groups of people that this happened. When I should have been safe, when I should have been protected, when I should have been informed, I should have been wiser as well. That is what happened. And my life has not been the same since. My life has kind of always been in reverse. Retro causality has always been a thing in my life. I believe that certain demonic forces follow some of us throughout our lives because, just watch Poltergeist, because of our shine. Some of us have abilities, right? We all have abilities. You, me, everybody. I think we're all telepathic, but that's kind of been indoctrinated out of us at this point. You know, we're told that here, this is how you talk to another person, pick up the phone. No one ever said, hey, just think about that person and they'll know you're thinking about them, right? It was always, this is the physical manifestation of our telepathy. And I believe everybody has these abilities. But I believe, some of us are followed for whatever reason throughout our life by these things. When all of this was going on and when they were basically running game around me, like, I called a session. I called it an abusive session. You might call it MK Ultra. When more than one person was around me at a certain time and they would just pummel me with abusive rhetoric. You're useless. You're a coward. You're no good. You're an idiot. You're stupid. You're ugly. You're fat. All these whatever. You're no good. Why are you like this? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you kill yourself? You should go kill yourself. Like, I had people telling me that constantly. And let me state, I do this at the beginning of every video now, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional any longer. I'm not giving medical advice. I am relaying my testimony, what happened to me. Any decisions anyone makes from watching my videos, that is on them. Okay. And I do not consent to anyone using my voice or image now or in the past, and I make that retroactive or in the future, unless I give my express consent. That means you have to physically ask me if something is okay with me. So when these things started happening and I recognized kind of what was going on around me, I said very loudly, and I'm relaying this for a reason. I said very loudly, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm not dealing with your manipulation. You don't control me. I'm taking my free will back. The moment I said that, it was almost like it physically pushed the two people that were, pummeling me with insults and abuse at that point. Like, they were physically pushed out of my space. And they didn't bother me anymore that day. Okay? And again, this is a daily battle. You get up each day and you decide. So this is your first lesson in consent. You have free will. You are not just a physical body. There's something within you that is animating that body. That is called your spirit. Okay? I believe the soul includes the body, and I'll get into that in another video. I have received a lot of, I don't know how to describe this. A lot of people say downloads. I've received a lot of information recently. And it's funny because I'm very weary. I feel like I'm at the end of this. I'm only doing this over, like I said, to reach a few different people, possibly. And because of a few people look forward to the videos and they learn things. And so I wanted to continue doing it for them, for Denise and Lisa and I don't know your real name, but TCD and Lewis, and there's a few others. So that's why I still do this. So you need to verbally declare it. And I don't care who you are at this point, you have demonic spirits attached to you. Okay, you can say negative energy. We're going to get into that in the Black Goo videos, but suffice it to say, there are energies attached to you at this point that are not conducive to your spiritual or your physical life. Okay, they want life. This other negative force, right? Think of the Force in Star Wars. Wasn't there a good and bad side with that? There is a negative force that attaches to people. Okay, you need to get rid of that. The best way to quickly liberate yourself, and it's hard work after this, okay? This is the easy part. The quick way to liberate yourself for that day and moment so you can breathe and so you can begin to walk under your own free will again and your own agency. What agency means is choice. So you can begin to do that again. You need to verbally, aloud, declare, and I don't care if you're alone, better if you are alone, because you'll see, even if you're alone, this is going to affect your life. Verbally declare, I am taking my free will back. It is mine. I am sovereign. I am a sovereign being. It is so key that you say that aloud. However, if you're a godly person, your immediate step after that, following that, oh God, I look horrible, should be I'm taking my free will back and I'm giving it to God, you know. But that's the thing. You're still going to have your agency. God created us with choice, or we would not be here. If God didn't want us to have a choice, we wouldn't be here living life and doing what we do. Sorry, somebody was walking by. And doing what we do, right? We are given this life so that we make choices and to see how those choices affect us, good, bad, or neutral. I try my very best to walk the balance of, or the line of balance at this point in time. I try to be neutral unless it's something that, you know, you have to speak out about. And there are certain things that, yes, we need to declare. And this is where we get into the consent declarations. After you have established the fact that you are a sovereign being, that you have free will, and that, okay, I want to be under the will of God so that I'm safe. You know, that's like your umbrella. That's like the wings that cover you. If you want to do that. If not, you just do the free will part. After that, it is a very good idea to verbally declare certain things aloud. Number one, it's good for you. It's good for your psyche and your mental status. It will help bring you to a higher frequency, literally, so that you're vibrating at a higher frequency, and these negative energies that can attach to us in this life can't reach you any longer because you are literally and physically above them at this point. Okay. So we're going to go over a few real quick. The first one you would say would be like, let me check the time here. If anyone else wants to mark it, 40. Um, went on a little long there with the background stuff, but I will mark it at 40 minutes for the actual like quick lesson. And this is gonna be so quick. So you might say, okay, I'm a free willed being. I am sovereign. I'm declaring my sovereignty, you know, and I ask to be under the will of God. You're still making your own choices. You're just asking God to watch out for you. The next thing that you should do is to declare certain things, what you do and do not consent to at all times. I consent to love. I consent to kindness. I consent to spiritual evolution. I consent to spiritual ascension. I consent to resurrection. You know, certain things that you declare to. I consent to what's another good one? Mm, see, the things you consent to are in this time that we're living are actually smaller than what you don't consent to. And that's sad. And so the next thing you would want to do is things that you immediately do not want to be associated with, right? I do not consent to spousal abuse. I do not consent to child abuse. I do not consent to the to rape, period. That should say enough. I do not consent to molestation of another being. I do not consent to murder. I do not consent to theft. I do not consent to medical experimentation. That is for you. These are the things that you consent to or do not consent to, the things that you allow into your body, your temple, but also your immediate environment. Because we don't own all the environment, right? We're sharing it with other free will beings. So that's why I don't buy the philosophy that well, you choose how all of this goes. Well, that's not true. What if I choose one thing and the person next to me chooses something else? How is that going to reconcile itself in our environment? What if I want rain that day and he wants sunshine? Either somebody's going to lose, or that philosophy is kaput, and I say it's kaput. We have a certain amount of influence over our environment, over others, because they're part of the environment, and over ourselves, we have the most influence. So it is much better to serve others, but you can't even begin to serve others either until you have worked on self. And I don't mean by being self-centered or selfish. I mean by taking a long hard look at the mirror and saying, okay, these things are attached to me because I have bad behaviors. What bad behaviors do I need to stop? And that's the beginning of getting these negative entities to let go of you. So immediately you want to say, I consent to, certain things. I do not consent to certain things. And these declarations are a good thing to add to your daily prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it. Certain things do need to be said out loud because, yes, we are being watched by that one eye that is mimicking that. Again, the kingdom of darkness is a counterfeit kingdom and copies everything God does. We are God's children. Of course, we copy everything God does. So, of course, Satan would, because Lucifer is God's child too. And I'll get into all that in another time. But we got to be careful there too. That's why I don't like blaming other entities and things. I think we need to take responsibility and accountability for our own self and the effects that we've had on our lives and those around us. I had to learn that the hard way. I didn't think anyone cared about me. I didn't think anyone paid any attention to the things that I did or didn't do. And I thought that it would be okay to do certain things. And I was wrong. I was wrong. We have to be okay with admitting when we're wrong and then moving forward. All right. Um, so we went over consent, the free will. Oh, and the last part of this, and again, I'm going to do a shorter video where we just talk about the consent part, but I had to tell you how I got to this part because there are a lot of targeted individuals out there, and a lot of us are targeted because they are redoing society, and some of us are not wanted as a part of that society, and they want to get rid of us. This has all been a plot or a plan to be rid of us. That's why I'm having issues with the Bible right now and the Book of Enoch, because I'm like, they could tell us anything. They could tell us anything. Oh, we found this 2,000 years ago. Oh, we found this on the moon. We don't know that anything we're told is true. We really don't. We have to take all things to God and to that higher power that is within us. Our what is the highest chakra? The white one. I call it the Holy Spirit, but some people call it something different. Yes, people will call me New Age. Again, I'm not affiliated. I'm not a member of any church. I'm not specifically in love with any religion, especially at this point in time. I am just trying to find the truth, like many of us. What I found also helps is that when you declare, for as far and as wide as my territory goes, meaning your land, because this is your land, it was given to us, and we've kind of defaulted and done wrong, right? The Native American Indians, they've got a real hand on this. This is why we all need each other. We all need to learn lessons from each other's cultures because we all have a bit that's a part of this story, and that is going to end up being detrimental to those of us who are unawares. And it, God's children perish for lack of knowledge. So the other thing that you can do is say, for as far and as wide as my territory goes, because again, we are higher in the hierarchy than these negative forces, these negative beings, demons, if you will, whatever word you prefer. I honestly don't care. I just want to get you free of it, right? And so you are above it in the hierarchy. So you can say, and because the earth was given to man, you can, in fact, and I believe Eden is somewhere here on earth. We just have to find it, and we have to be willing to walk away from our life. Everything. We have to be willing to walk away from it all and just go. And I believe we can find Eden, and I believe it is here. And I think the gate is open. I'll do a shorter video on that to let you guys know about that. But yeah, the other thing that you want to know is that I will say this prayer sometimes. For as far and as wide as my territory goes, I do not consent to spousal abuse. For as far and as wide as my territory goes, Lord, I do not consent to child abuse. For as far and as wide as my territory goes, I do not consent to other beings hijacking the free will of another. And that's what is happening. Your free will is being hijacked by others. This is why I don't vote. And again, I will go over all of this in shorter little snippets and clips of videos. I wanted to go live with this, kind of see how it did. I'm still having issues learning and playing with all this stuff. So I just kind of wanted to see what would happen and if it would work and how it would go. I want to hear what you guys think. Do you believe in demons? Do you believe in angels? Do you believe the story of the fallen angels? Do you think we're dealing with something being done on a wide, massive scale by the military-industrial complex? And I tell you right now, I believe this is war. They're not openly using guns and things like that anymore. But I find it ironic that the word SHOT is used when they're talking about the thing that goes here, but it's also the thing that goes in weapons. It's also something a weapon can do. And so I find that very telling. I think the US is in the middle of a war right now, and they've just not told us. And it seems to me they're getting rid of women of a certain age, women who cannot bear children. And there's this big push for the younger generation to have children. Same thing happened in 2000, and it's happening now again. Why? I don't know. Um, I don't know exactly. They want a utopian society where they think everything will be sunshine and roses if they just get rid of the people that disagree with them. But it's not going to happen. It won't work that way. It doesn't work that way because this person's idea of paradise is different than this person's. It's always going to end up looking like 1984. And I believe this is why some of us are feeling residual effects. I believe this might have happened before. I believe it's a refining of the soul's process. If you don't find Eden or get to Eden your first round, God will give you as many goes as you want. And I kind of think we get to choose where we go after this, after we learn. I think there are a few different possibilities. And so we're going to talk about that next, about reincarnation, resurrection, and we're going to get into, and I know I hear the unsub button clicking already, but we're going to get into Babylonianism. I don't even know what the Egyptian religion is called. Ma'at, the 24, is it 24? 42. The 42 laws of Ma'at. I don't know specifically what the religion is called, but we're going to look into it so we can learn that. And I believe it's key for this time because there's a lot of things going on. And when all this began in 2019, I don't know if you caught it, but there was this Egyptian ceremony that was held. And so, yeah, these are all things that we're going to talk about. I have more videos coming this week, a couple today maybe. So, stay tuned, and we will talk more about consent, but this is the first little bit, take your free will back. Take it back. It's yours. Make some declarations, make them loud and proud. That will not just bolster you. It will let anything around you know, I'm not playing anymore. I'm not playing this game. And I'm not going to lie, you might be lonely after that. You might be very lonely because people have demons and they don't want to be around people who aren't willing to play. That's how they have their fun. That's how they get their kick. That's why some of them are called tricksters. But we'll get into more of that. This is the channel of high strangeness for a reason. And that's why I talk about some of these things here. If you're interested in like Bible readings and actually readings from other religious texts and things like that, go check out my other channel, Brie and Jen. And I hope we'll talk soon. Bye, guys. And thank you to those who watch. I'm sorry I looked a hot mess. Let me find them. There we go. And